Hey guys, tonight we're heading to the warm, humid lands of Africa, where bananas are more than just a snack. Picture yourself strolling through the markets, colorful fruits hanging in clusters from every stall, ripe and ready for consumption. But these bananas, they're not just for eating. In some parts of Africa, they've been symbols of wealth, power, and prestige for centuries. Imagine being in a grand palace where the elite are tossing these golden fruits as gifts or offering them in sacred ceremonies to the gods. In ancient African societies, you probably wouldn't have survived long without understanding the value of a perfectly ripened banana, let alone a bunch of them. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Are you already winding down for bed or maybe starting your day? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. We start where the banana's journey truly begins, Africa. But before we talk about how these tropical fruits became synonymous with power, let's rewind a bit. Bananas didn't start in Africa. In fact, their origins are traced to Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. Early explorers and traders likely carried these fruit-bearing plants across the seas to the coasts of Africa, probably along trade routes stretching from India or even further east. Historians still argue whether these bananas were brought over intentionally or if they just made their way by accident as part of other shipments, but there's no mistaking the impact they had. From there, the banana quickly adapted to the African climate, thriving in the continent's heat and humidity. Soon, it wasn't just a new fruit, it became a valuable resource. Bananas could be grown relatively easily, providing a stable food source in areas where agriculture was already developing. But this wasn't just any fruit, it was a status symbol. The moment these bananas began to take root in African soil, they took on a new, deeper meaning, becoming intertwined with social and political power. In ancient kingdoms of Ghana and Mali, where the economic and political elite prided themselves on displaying wealth, bananas became a visual marker of that wealth. Wealthy families and rulers could show off their prosperity not only by hoarding gold, but also by having an abundance of bananas, often as part of ceremonial feasts or as gifts exchanged with other rulers. The fruit wasn't merely food, it was a statement. Imagine sitting at one of those royal banquets, surrounded by golden treasures, and the centerpiece of the feast? A massive, gleaming bunch of bananas, often placed on an ornate display table. Even though everyone could technically grow bananas, those who could display the biggest, juiciest bunches were the true power players. Bananas weren't just about showcasing wealth. They became symbols of the connection between earthly life and the divine. You see, many early African cultures believed that bananas were linked to the spirit world. In certain societies, the bananas you ate might reflect your relationship with the gods. The more powerful your connection, the more bananas you might receive from ceremonial offerings. Rituals involving bananas were often held in temples or at sacred sites, where the fruit would be offered to gods or ancestors, acting as an intermediary between the human and spiritual realms. It was believed that the gods favored the banana for its abundance and fertility, a very tangible manifestation of life's potential. Historians still argue whether the banana was always seen as a purely divine symbol or whether it started as a more pragmatic crop that slowly gained spiritual significance. Either way, as the banana spread across the continent, it wasn't long before it became something much larger than just a foodstuff. The fruit was now woven into the fabric of African culture, from royal palaces to rural villages. And while the kings and queens of the time were still using them as symbols of their own power, the banana became, well, literally a symbol of life and prosperity. It was food, it was trade, and it was spirit. Let's keep moving, and now that we're settled into this tale, let's zoom in on how bananas made their way to Africa. So after the bananas' journey from Southeast Asia, the next step in its adventure was Africa, where it was quickly embraced and adapted. Imagine those first early merchants or travelers carrying something so unfamiliar to the African shores. They probably had no idea how quickly their arrival would change things. It wasn't just about the fruit itself, it was about what the fruit represented. As the banana found its place in the soil, it became intertwined with local customs, cultures, and trade. The first stop for many of these bananas was the east coast of Africa. The trade routes across the Indian Ocean played a massive part in this. These bustling trade corridors saw goods like spices, textiles, and, of course, bananas being exchanged for other African goods such as ivory, salt, and gold. Bananas didn't arrive on their own, though. Along with the fruit came knowledge of agriculture. It was a package deal, if you will. Bananas didn't just grow by accident. The introduction of banana cultivation techniques transformed the way local societies produced food. Local farmers learned how to propagate the plant, how to improve the yields, and how to cultivate bananas in the right conditions. Historians still argue whether banana farming techniques came with the fruit itself or whether they evolved separately in different parts of the continent. In fact, banana cultivation in Africa became so widespread that it's believed that by the time the banana was fully established, it was virtually inseparable from daily life. This wasn't some passing agricultural trend. This fruit became central to village life, filling kitchens, markets, and ultimately the tables of the elite. There was an undeniable connection between the banana and the economy, which makes sense. A crop that could yield so much food so easily would become a foundation for the growth of larger communities and kingdoms. The growth of banana plantations was part of what sustained these ancient societies, especially as populations increased and the need for a steady food source grew. But bananas weren't just filling bellies. They had symbolic value too. As we touched on before, their presence in rituals and ceremonies solidified their role as a status symbol. In some places, it was believed that the spirit of the banana was almost magical, connecting the living with the ancestors. Bananas weren't always served as food, they were sometimes used as offerings to the gods, given in exchange for favor and protection. These rituals were deeply ingrained in African cultures. The fact that bananas were often used as offerings speaks volumes about how sacred they were viewed. And when you think about it, they were the perfect offering, easy to harvest, abundant, and rich with significance. But as much as bananas were revered, there was also a bit of practicality behind their prominence. You see, their fast-growing nature made them ideal for trade, too. Unlike many other crops that take months or even years to grow, bananas could be harvested relatively quickly and in large quantities. This made them a coveted commodity across Africa. Trade in bananas helped power economies and fostered relationships between distant kingdoms. For example, the Kingdom of Aksum, located in modern-day Ethiopia, grew immensely powerful thanks to its strategic trade routes. The kingdoms along the Nile, such as Egypt, were also involved in the exchange, and bananas made their way to the Mediterranean world. It wasn't long before the banana became an essential part of Africa's broader economic engine, its value deeply woven into the fabric of the continent's trade networks. Historians still argue whether bananas were ever as valuable in trade as gold or salt, but they certainly weren't cheap, especially when they were transported long distances. The fact that bananas were used as currency in some regions only adds to their mystique. Imagine trading a bunch of bananas for something as precious as land or livestock. It wasn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Bananas were as valuable as a gold coin, at least in certain markets, and played a key role in solidifying the social and economic power of the people who controlled them. So, as bananas spread across Africa, they didn't just provide food or economic value. They became part of the very fabric of the societies that cultivated them. What was once a humble fruit brought from faraway lands had now embedded itself deeply into the culture, spirituality, and power dynamics of Africa. Bananas weren't just for eating. They were for celebrating life, for connecting with the gods, and for asserting power. As we continue to explore the rise of the banana, we find that ancient Egypt was an unexpected stage for this fruit's next chapter. Now, when you think of ancient Egypt, your mind probably jumps to pyramids, pharaohs, and elaborate burial rituals. But what if I told you bananas had a role in all of that? Yes, the Egyptians, with their eternal obsession with symbolism, didn't miss the opportunity to integrate bananas into their cultural tapestry. These bananas weren't just imported for casual snacking. They took on a deeper, more ritualistic meaning. The banana's arrival in Egypt is something of a mystery. Ancient texts don't mention it explicitly, but there's evidence to suggest the fruit reached Egypt around the 2nd century BCE, likely via trade routes from the east. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians were aware of the banana's presence before it hit the Nile, or if it was a complete novelty at the time. Either way, once bananas arrived in Egypt, they were integrated into the country's already complex belief system. Ancient Egyptians had a particular fondness for exotic foods and luxury items that symbolized wealth and divine favor. Bananas fit the bill perfectly. They didn't just nourish the body, they were seen as a gift from the gods. In fact, the banana was not only an offering to the gods, but it was also featured in some of the everyday rituals that permeated Egyptian life. For example, when pharaohs or nobility wanted to honor the gods or ancestors, they would often include bananas in their offerings. These weren't just symbolic gestures. Bananas were believed to carry divine qualities. Their lushness and fertility, linked with the abundant nature of the land itself, made them a potent symbol of both material and spiritual wealth. Imagine, if you will, an ancient Egyptian temple. The air is thick with incense, and the faint sound of chanting echoes through the stone halls. On an altar made of polished marble, a ripe bunch of bananas lies next to golden figurines and a bowl of honey. To modern eyes, this might seem like an odd combination, but to the Egyptians, the banana represented the life force itself. They believed the fruit's curved shape mimicked the moon, which was associated with the god Khonsu, a lunar deity. Some even believed that the banana's moon-like form made it a symbol of fertility, which made it particularly sacred in fertility rituals. So, bananas were not just food, they were essential in making the connection between the earthly realm and the divine. Historians still debate the exact role of bananas in Egypt, but there's no denying that they were part of the ancient Egyptians' vast tapestry of beliefs and practices. Whether in royal feasts or temple offerings, they played their part in the grand, multi-layered drama of Egyptian civilization. Moving westward from the fertile banks of the Nile, the banana's journey continues through the mighty kingdoms of West Africa, where its role expands even further. By this time, bananas were more than just a novelty. They were crucial commodities woven into the very fabric of social, political, and economic life. In regions like Mali, Ghana, and later Songhai, the banana had become an emblem of not only wealth, but also cultural identity. It wasn't long before bananas were used as part of trade agreements between kingdoms, cementing their position as both a prized agricultural product and a highly revered cultural symbol. Imagine yourself in the bustling marketplace of an ancient West African city. The sun is hot and the air is thick with the scent of spices and fresh produce. Alongside the more common goods like grains and salt, you notice something that catches your eye: bunches of bananas stacked high on wooden carts. The fruit, with its rich golden hue, is being exchanged for other valuable commodities: salt, gold, ivory, and even slaves. As you wander through the stalls, it's easy to see why bananas became so desirable. Not only did they provide nourishment, but they were also symbols of abundance, fertility, and divine favor. In the kingdoms of West Africa, having access to bananas meant you were part of a wealthy, powerful elite. Historians still debate the extent to which bananas were traded across the entire region during this time. Some argue that the banana was relatively rare in the farthest corners of the Sahel, while others insist that its cultivation spread with remarkable speed. Regardless of the exact timeline, one thing is clear: bananas were deeply integrated into the economic systems of the time. They were used as barter and trade in the same way other essential goods were, and their role as a trade commodity helped strengthen the already powerful kingdoms of West Africa. Bananas were as valuable as any precious metal in these markets, and their role in the prosperity of these societies cannot be overstated. But it wasn't just the wealthy elite who reaped the rewards of banana cultivation. In rural communities, bananas became central to daily life. Families would grow them alongside other crops, and the fruit was often a staple in their diets. Whether for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, bananas could be enjoyed in a variety of ways: boiled, roasted, or eaten raw. They were incredibly versatile, much like the many roles they played in West African society. For the common folk, the banana was a source of nourishment and comfort, while for the elite, it represented something more. As bananas became a symbol of social status, their role also extended into the world of religion and ritual. Much like in Egypt, bananas were used as offerings to the gods in West Africa. In particular, they were offered to the spirits of ancestors during important ceremonies. The fruit was believed to carry messages to the divine, acting as a conduit between the living and the spirits. The banana's significance in rituals was so great that in some regions, entire festivals were dedicated to honoring it. During these celebrations, the rich, ripened fruit would be presented in abundance as a symbol of prosperity and fertility, ensuring a bountiful harvest in the coming year. This connection to the spiritual world made bananas a staple of royal courts as well. Kings and chiefs, as well as their courts, would use bananas as part of diplomatic gifts, enhancing their standing and reinforcing their influence. The exchange of bananas in these contexts was far from casual. It was a carefully orchestrated act of establishing relationships and asserting power. These gifts were often presented in a formal setting, where the banana would be displayed on golden platters or intricately carved wooden bowls, reinforcing its status as a luxury item. And while it may sound a bit extravagant by today's standards, this was not just about indulgence. It was about keeping up with the expectations of power and prestige. Historians still argue whether the banana was ever a direct form of currency, but it's clear that it played an important role in the economic systems of these societies, even if its use was more symbolic than strictly monetary. In a sense, bananas became an entire social language. The way they were cultivated, traded, and consumed was a reflection of one's place in society. The banana was a marker of status, a connector to the divine, and a key part of the royal court's power structures. In the West African kingdoms, bananas were not just a part of the diet, they were part of the political and spiritual landscape. They held a dual importance, as sustenance and as a reminder of the social and cultural forces that shaped the kingdoms of the time. And as bananas became more widely available and culturally ingrained, they helped set the stage for the larger trade networks that would spread across Africa in the coming centuries. As we journey even deeper into the heart of African culture, we now find ourselves in a world where bananas were not just cultivated for trade or sustenance, but were intertwined with rituals and spiritual beliefs. You can imagine that in ancient African societies, bananas were much more than just a food item. They carried with them a sense of mystique, often believed to hold divine power. It wasn't uncommon for bananas to be included in sacred offerings to deities, ensuring a prosperous and fertile year ahead. These spiritual associations made the banana even more valuable in the eyes of those who believed in the importance of appeasing higher powers. Now, let's take a step back and imagine how this all unfolded. You've probably already gotten a sense that for many African peoples, the banana was no ordinary fruit. From the bustling trade routes of the West African kingdoms to the sun-drenched villages, bananas weren't just for eating, they were for connecting to the gods. In some cultures, it was believed that bananas carried the essence of life itself, and thus they were offered in ceremonies to maintain harmony between the human world and the divine. It was believed that the gods, through the sacrifice of bananas, would ensure fertility, good harvests, and even protection from misfortune. Historians still argue whether these practices were specific to one region or whether they spread across the entire continent as the banana made its way from the coast to the interior. What we do know is that bananas were so highly revered in certain cultures that they were often seen as the ideal offering to gods, representing a perfect balance between material wealth and spiritual harmony. Their golden color symbolized the sun, and their sweet, rich taste was an embodiment of the earth's bounty. Bananas were part of a deeply embedded belief system that linked human existence with the natural world. They were used to please both the gods of agriculture and the spirits of ancestors. The fact that bananas were regarded as sacred objects shows just how much power this humble fruit could hold in shaping both the spiritual and political spheres of ancient societies. As we walk further into the realm of symbolism, it's clear that bananas also served as a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and death. Many African cultures associated the fruit with rebirth and renewal. For instance, in some areas, bananas were placed at the foot of a deceased elder's tomb to help guide their spirit to the afterlife. The banana's connection to fertility and its ability to grow in abundance were believed to offer spiritual nourishment for the deceased. This sacred symbolism made bananas an essential part of African burial rituals, where they were used as offerings to ensure that the spirits of the departed found peace and continued their journey into the next world. In these practices, the banana wasn't simply a food, it was a conduit for a deeper connection to ancestors and the divine. And if you're thinking about how bananas managed to remain so important in rituals and ceremonies across such a vast continent, well, let's just say it's a reflection of the unifying power of food. In many parts of the world, food serves as a bridge between cultures, between the living and the divine. For ancient African peoples, bananas bridged the gap between the material and spiritual worlds in ways few other foods could. Now, let's take a step forward from sacred rituals to the feasts of the elite. Imagine a royal banquet in the Kingdom of Mali or the Songhai Empire. The table is spread with every kind of delicacy imaginable: stews of goat and millet, honey cakes, fresh fish, and towering pyramids of bananas. In these grand banquets, the bananas were more than just a part of the meal. They were a symbol of wealth, prestige, and social status. Royals and wealthy merchants would often serve bananas as a part of a feast, showcasing their abundance and the prosperity of their realm. The more bananas you could offer, the more you demonstrated your capacity to give, and the more favor you earned from your peers. Bananas were a staple in these feasts, and their significance as a luxury item was undeniable. While the common folk ate bananas boiled or roasted in simple meals, the rich presented them in their most elaborate forms, arranged on gold platters, garnished with spices, and sometimes even adorned with precious beads. Historians often debate whether bananas were the centerpiece of every feast, or if they were just one element of a much larger culinary spectacle. Regardless, they were always present in a way that made it clear bananas were not merely for sustenance, they were a symbol of refinement and taste. They were the ultimate display of wealth. This cultural importance of bananas is also reflected in the use of the fruit as diplomatic gifts. It wasn't uncommon for powerful rulers to exchange bananas as a way of strengthening alliances or as a part of tribute to neighboring kingdoms. Bananas weren't just a source of food, they were also a way to show respect, to establish peaceful relations, and even to assert dominance. Imagine a grand procession where one ruler sends an entourage to present a bounty of bananas to another king, signaling peace, alliance, or an offer of friendship. The more bananas you could present, the more power you held in this exchange of culture, politics, and respect. Historians still argue over the role of bananas in the formal diplomacy of ancient African kingdoms. Was it merely a symbol of goodwill, or did they serve a more practical purpose in these exchanges? Either way, one thing is certain: bananas had a significant role in the formal and informal politics of the time. They were so much more than just a foodstuff. They were part of the larger power structures that governed the relationships between these great kingdoms. Bananas were a fruit of not just sustenance, but also of survival, political maneuvering, and divine connection. Now, as we shift from the ceremonial to the practical, let's take a closer look at the role bananas played in daily life across Africa. While the elite dined on bananas arranged in gold-adorned feasts, the humble farmer's connection to bananas was more grounded, yet just as vital. Bananas weren't just for banquets or religious rituals, they were everyday sustenance. In fact, for many communities across Africa, bananas became the cornerstone of agricultural practices and family diets. Imagine waking up before the sun rises, the air still cool, and stepping outside to tend to your banana plants, knowing that today's harvest could feed your family for weeks to come. It's this kind of daily reliance that made bananas so much more than a luxury. They were essential. In the warmer climates of West and Central Africa, where banana cultivation flourished, the banana plant became a vital crop. Farmers could rely on them for food year-round. In contrast to grains like millet or sorghum, bananas were fast-growing and easy to harvest. Their fruit-bearing nature meant that banana plantations could be rotated quickly, giving farmers the flexibility to grow other crops around them. As bananas became more widely cultivated, they began to take their place alongside more traditional staples, like yams or cassava, in the daily diet. It wasn't just the fruit that was valuable. The leaves and stems of the banana plant were also used for other purposes, from building materials to cooking utensils. Historians still argue whether bananas were a truly staple crop for all African societies or if their cultivation was confined to specific regions. While it's clear that bananas were essential in many parts of West and Central Africa, it's also true that in areas with less rainfall or more arid conditions, other crops took precedence. Nevertheless, in places where bananas grew well, they played an integral role in both family meals and the broader food economy. And let's not forget the humble banana's versatility. It could be boiled, roasted, or eaten raw. The taste could vary from sweet to starchy, depending on the ripeness, giving it the flexibility to be enjoyed in a variety of dishes. But beyond their culinary uses, bananas also carried practical value in everyday life. For the average person, having a reliable supply of bananas meant security and a little peace of mind. Unlike other crops that might fail due to droughts or pests, bananas were a resilient fruit that thrived in both wet and dry conditions. In some parts of Africa, bananas even acted as a natural form of insurance, providing a safety net when other crops were less predictable. If other food sources failed, bananas were often the reliable fallback, ensuring that families would not go hungry. Bananas were also closely tied to social structures within the villages. In many African societies, communal work was the backbone of agricultural life. Entire communities would come together to harvest banana crops, share in the labor, and then share in the bounty. It was not uncommon for farmers to exchange bananas for other goods, such as pottery, textiles, or livestock. In this way, the banana wasn't just a commodity, it was a currency, too, facilitating trade and solidifying the bonds between neighbors and neighboring villages. Now, let's move from the practicalities of banana cultivation to something that might surprise you. Bananas also played a role in the world of medicine. In many African cultures, bananas were believed to have healing properties. It's not just the fruit itself that was valued for its health benefits. The leaves, peels, and even the flower of the banana plant were used in various traditional remedies. Some cultures believed that banana leaves had the power to soothe burns, while others used the fruit to help with digestive issues. The banana's potassium-rich properties were known to help balance electrolytes and improve heart health. In fact, banana-based treatments have been used for generations in rural areas, passed down through oral traditions from elders to younger generations. Historians still argue whether bananas were used medicinally in ancient times, or whether these practices are more recent innovations. While we have evidence that certain parts of the banana plant were used in traditional medicine, it's difficult to determine exactly when the medical uses of bananas first began. What we do know is that bananas have long been associated with health and well-being, both in Africa and in other parts of the world. From their role in providing nutrition to their inclusion in folk remedies, bananas were much more than just a food. They were a source of healing and vitality. And as we reflect on all of this, we can begin to see the profound impact bananas had on African societies, not just as a crop, but as a cultural touchstone. Bananas were a fruit of life, growth, and renewal, and they were woven into nearly every facet of African existence, from the grand palaces of kings to the humble huts of farmers. Bananas were, and still are, a connection to the earth, the divine, and one another. The banana plant, with its towering leaves and abundant fruit, became a symbol of Africa's fertility and prosperity. But of course, the story doesn't end here. As we continue to explore the role of bananas in Africa's cultural history, we'll see how their symbolism evolved with the introduction of new forces like the slave trade and colonialism. We'll also discover how the humble banana was transformed from a local crop into a global commodity. So let's take a deep breath and keep going as we explored the banana's journey through the winds of change. As we continue our journey, let's turn our focus to a crucial turning point: the arrival of European colonial powers in Africa. This marked a significant shift in the banana's place within African society as it began to take on new roles, not just as a symbol of local wealth, but as a commodity with global reach. Picture this. Colonial powers like the British, French, and Portuguese began to reshape the African landscape, not only through political and military dominance, but also by introducing new agricultural practices designed to benefit the colonial economies. And, of course, bananas were caught up in this transformation. When European powers arrived in Africa, they brought with them new agricultural ideas and a demand for cash crops. They introduced large-scale farming methods that prioritized commercial production over subsistence farming, and bananas, once a food for the local elite, were now being cultivated for export. Instead of bananas being harvested primarily for local consumption and trade, vast plantations were established to grow the fruit for European markets. The banana became, in many ways, a product of colonial exploitation, traded and sold across the globe. Historians still argue whether this shift toward commercialization truly benefited African societies or whether it merely served the interests of the colonial powers. On the one hand, the banana trade brought economic opportunity to certain regions, and banana plantations helped to support local economies. But on the other hand, the shift towards cash crops like bananas led to greater dependency on colonial structures. For many African workers, the introduction of plantations didn't result in prosperity. Instead, they found themselves laboring under exploitative conditions, working long hours for little pay to produce crops that would leave the continent and line European coffers. The large-scale commercial banana plantations were particularly prevalent in East and Central Africa, where European powers had a strong foothold. Countries like Uganda, Kenya, and the Democratic Republic of Congo became major centers for banana production, and the fruit's role as a luxury symbol began to fade into the background. For the local people, bananas were still important, but they were no longer the exclusive privilege of kings and high-ranking officials. Now, bananas were increasingly grown to feed the workers on these plantations, and the wealth generated by banana exports often flowed outward, away from the local communities. This shift in banana cultivation didn't just affect the economy, it also altered the cultural significance of the fruit. As bananas became more widely available and integrated into global trade networks, they became more common. No longer just the province of kings and priests, bananas were found in the hands of the many, not the few. This democratization of bananas might seem like a good thing. More people had access to a nutritious fruit, after all. But it also meant that the once sacred symbolic value of the banana was slowly eroded. In the grand feasts of African kingdoms, the banana may have symbolized power and divine favor, but in the world of colonial agriculture, it was just another crop in the long list of goods shipped off to feed European markets. The ritual of offering bananas to the gods, the grand royal feasts, and the use of bananas as symbols of wealth and fertility, these traditions began to fade as colonial powers forced African societies to adapt to a new economic model that prioritized profit over cultural significance. The banana, while still valuable, lost much of its mystical, sacred meaning. But this isn't the end of the banana's transformation. As the colonial period gave way to independence movements across Africa in the mid-20th century, the banana took on a new role once again, this time as a symbol of resilience and cultural continuity. Even as the colonial era sought to diminish Africa's traditional values, bananas remained a part of daily life. They became a symbol of the enduring connection to the land and the people, even as colonial systems began to crumble. Bananas were still central to African cuisine, appearing in everyday dishes and local markets, but with independence came a sense of reclaiming cultural identity, an identity that included a recognition of the importance of traditional crops like bananas. The symbolism of the banana was gradually restored, but this time it was tied to the story of resistance and survival. The fruit was no longer just something offered to the gods or presented at royal feasts. It was a symbol of the African spirit itself. Historians still debate how deeply colonialism affected the symbolic and cultural importance of bananas in Africa. While it's clear that the banana was transformed by colonial agriculture, it's also clear that the fruit remained deeply embedded in African societies. Even today, bananas are a key part of both the culinary and cultural landscapes of the continent, though their significance has evolved. The banana, once a symbol of divine favor and royal power, is now a symbol of cultural resilience, a reminder of Africa's ability to adapt and thrive even in the face of external pressures. In the next section, we'll look at the post-colonial world, where bananas have continued to shape both African economies and global trade. From the local markets of West Africa to the global grocery store shelves, the banana's journey continues to this day, reminding us that even the most humble of fruits can hold a profound place in the history of a continent. As we move into the modern era, the banana's place within Africa and the world has evolved even further. The banana is no longer just a fruit in the fields or a symbol of royal power. It has become an economic powerhouse, found in every grocery store across the globe. But let's not rush ahead. Let's take a moment to explore how the banana, once a rare luxury, has become so deeply woven into Africa's modern economy and culture. From local farmers in rural villages to multinational corporations, bananas continue to be both a staple and a symbol of economic complexity. Let's begin with the banana's ongoing role in Africa's agricultural landscape. As the world saw rapid industrialization and the rise of global trade networks, African countries began to export bananas on a larger scale. The fruit, once grown for local consumption or as a symbol of wealth, was now being grown for international markets. Large commercial plantations began to crop up, especially in countries like Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. These countries became some of the leading producers of bananas, catering to a global demand that reached across continents. Bananas are, in fact, one of Africa's largest agricultural exports today, with several African nations relying on the crop as an important source of income and employment. But there's a catch. As the banana has been commercialized on this grand scale, it has become increasingly tied to the complexities of global trade. Multinational companies, especially in the 20th century, began to dominate the banana market. Companies like Chiquita and Dole, already well established in Central and South America, started to invest heavily in African banana plantations. The global demand for bananas has created a massive industry, but one that's often marked by issues of exploitation. Workers on banana plantations, particularly in countries with weak labor laws, often face harsh conditions for meager wages. Historians still argue about the balance between economic development and the exploitation of African workers in the banana industry. On the one hand, bananas provide jobs, infrastructure, and economic growth. On the other, the industry is fraught with inequalities and the concentration of power in the hands of large corporations. Still, the banana's impact on the African economy is undeniable. The rise of large plantations has helped fuel local economies, offering jobs to thousands, especially in rural areas where other employment options may be limited. For many families, the banana industry represents the possibility of a more stable future. It provides not only income, but also a way to participate in the broader global economy. Farmers in some regions have become small-scale producers, growing bananas for local markets or exporting them to nearby countries. The banana, once a symbol of royal wealth and ritual, has now become part of the fabric of everyday life, offering a direct path to economic participation for countless families. At the same time, the banana's place in local African cultures hasn't disappeared. While the large-scale industrialization of banana farming has brought significant economic changes, bananas remain a central food staple for many Africans. The humble banana continues to provide nutrition for families across the continent. In local markets, it's often sold alongside other traditional African crops, such as cassava and yams. Bananas are still enjoyed in a variety of ways, from stews and soups to snacks and desserts. Despite its commercialization, the banana's role as an important cultural food has endured. In some ways, it's become a symbol of Africa's resilience and adaptability, a food that transcends time and continues to sustain people, both economically and culturally. Historians still debate how much colonialism and globalization have altered the traditional ways bananas were cultivated and consumed. On the one hand, the banana has brought wealth and opportunities to some African countries. On the other, it's embedded in the complexities of modern capitalist trade, which can exacerbate existing inequalities. The rise of the banana as a global commodity has created both benefits and challenges for African economies. For all the prosperity it can bring, the banana industry is also a reminder of the ways in which global forces can reshape local economies, cultures, and traditions. Yet the banana is not just a product of economic shifts. It's also a symbol of Africa's changing relationship with the world. As bananas have been exported to global markets, they've become an international symbol of Africa's agricultural potential. The banana's journey from sacred offering to commodity is reflective of Africa's broader historical trajectory. From colonialism to independence, and now to global trade, the banana is a witness to Africa's enduring connection to the land, its struggles for economic sovereignty, and its ongoing attempts to navigate the forces of globalization. Despite the challenges, the banana still carries symbolic weight in Africa. It is still used in rituals in certain parts of the continent, symbolizing prosperity and fertility in religious and cultural ceremonies. And though the banana's place in these rituals has shifted in meaning, it's still a reminder of the fruit's long-standing connection to the sacred and the spiritual. Even as Africa embraces modern agriculture and participates in global trade, the banana remains, in many ways, a symbol of the continent's resilience and its unbroken ties to tradition. In the next section, we'll continue exploring the ways in which bananas have become so entrenched in both the global economy and African society, focusing on how these historical and economic shifts have influenced modern-day cultural identities and the fruit's role in today's world. As we step into the present day, it's fascinating to consider how the banana's journey through Africa has not only shaped its agricultural landscape, but has also affected modern cultural identities. The banana is no longer just a symbol of wealth, divinity, or royal prestige. Today, it has become a part of everyday life for millions of people. From its early symbolic significance to its role in the global market, the banana has been transformed into a food that unites and divides, connects and distances. But what does it mean to be African and have bananas as a part of your cultural heritage in the 21st century? Let's start with the most immediate way the banana impacts contemporary African culture, through food. Today, the banana is a staple in countless African households. It's cooked, boiled, fried, and served in dishes that range from savory stews to sweet desserts. In East Africa, the banana is part of the diet in forms like matoke, where the fruit is cooked with onions, tomatoes, and meat, becoming an integral part of meals. In West Africa, plantains, a type of banana, are a favorite snack, often fried or boiled to perfection. The versatile nature of bananas in African cooking has helped them retain their place in kitchens across the continent, serving as a reminder of the fruit's deep cultural roots. But the banana's modern relevance goes beyond the kitchen. It has become a symbol of Africa's engagement with the global food market. The growth of banana exports from Africa, particularly in countries like Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, has played a critical role in shaping how Africa interacts with the rest of the world. Bananas are not only produced for domestic consumption, they are now key export commodities, with African-grown bananas appearing in grocery stores across Europe, the Middle East, and even parts of Asia. The global demand for bananas has helped boost local economies, particularly in East and Central Africa, where banana plantations support thousands of workers and contribute to national GDPs. However, as much as bananas have helped fuel Africa's agricultural economy, they have also exposed some of the continent's vulnerabilities in the global market. While large multinational corporations profit from Africa's banana exports, many local farmers face challenges, including poor labor conditions, the pressure to meet global standards, and fluctuating prices. Some African nations are striving for greater autonomy in banana production, pushing for fairer trade practices and better wages for farm workers. Historians still argue whether the banana industry in Africa has benefited from globalization or whether it has merely become another cog in the machine of international agricultural exploitation. It's clear that the banana industry, much like other sectors in Africa, is caught between the promise of growth and the reality of economic inequality. And yet, despite these challenges, bananas continue to represent the resilience of African farmers and their ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Bananas are no longer just a crop, they're a symbol of Africa's ability to engage with the global economy on its own terms. In some ways, the banana is a reminder of how Africa has managed to navigate the complexities of colonialism, globalization, and economic dependency, always finding ways to integrate its agricultural heritage into the modern world. But more than that, the banana is an emblem of the enduring cultural identity of Africa, even in the face of external forces that seek to commodify it. Now let's shift to the ways in which bananas continue to inspire local traditions and community life. In many parts of Africa, bananas are still a part of significant social events. Take, for example, weddings, birthdays, and religious ceremonies. Even in today's fast-paced world, bananas are used as gifts, tokens of goodwill, and markers of celebration. In some communities, banana leaves are used to decorate spaces during festivals or to wrap food for important gatherings. The banana's journey from sacred offering to everyday commodity has not diminished its role in connecting people to their cultural heritage. Whether used in a meal shared with loved ones or presented as a part of a larger celebration, the banana continues to bring people together. Bananas also remain central to certain rites of passage. In many African cultures, bananas are still offered to spirits or ancestors, symbolizing a connection between the living and the deceased. These traditions have evolved over time, and while the banana's role in rituals may no longer carry the same divine significance it once had, it remains a cherished part of these practices. Bananas are also used in some places to mark the changing seasons, reminding communities of their connection to the earth and the cycles of nature. The banana, therefore, continues to serve as a bridge between the past and the present, between tradition and modernity. Historians still debate the extent to which modern-day Africans are aware of the banana's sacred past. Some argue that younger generations, raised in an increasingly globalized world, may not recognize the deep historical and cultural significance of bananas. But as we've seen throughout history, the banana has always adapted to changing circumstances, and so has its place in African life. Even if the symbolism has shifted over the years, the banana remains a tangible link to the past, a reminder of Africa's agricultural traditions, its complex relationship with colonialism, and its ongoing cultural evolution. In fact, the global significance of bananas has led the fruit being included in African art, music, and literature. It's not uncommon to see references to bananas in African literature, often as metaphors for abundance, fertility, or survival. Similarly, songs and poems have used bananas as symbols of both struggle and triumph. From its role in pre-colonial rituals to its place in contemporary cultural expressions, the banana is not merely a food, it is a symbol of Africa's ability to thrive even in the face of adversity. As we reflect on this journey, it's clear that the banana is far more than just a crop. From its origins in Southeast Asia to its rise as a global commodity, the banana's story mirrors the complex history of Africa itself, one of adaptation, survival, and cultural continuity. Whether it's serving as a symbol of royal power, a sacred offering to the gods, or a key player in the global economy, the banana remains a central part of Africa's story, woven into its agricultural landscape and cultural identity. The banana, once a rare and sacred fruit, is now a common presence on tables and markets across the continent. But its story, rich in history and significance, will continue to unfold for generations to come. As we continue to reflect on the banana's extraordinary journey, let's take a moment to consider its legacy in the modern world. In many ways, the banana has transcended its role as just a fruit. It's become a symbol of both Africa's agricultural resilience and the broader global forces that shape its economic future. From the sacred rituals of ancient African kingdoms to the busy export markets of today, the banana has proven itself to be a symbol of endurance, transformation, and cultural continuity. But its impact is not just confined to Africa. It's a fruit that has shaped the world's food systems, transcending borders and playing a crucial role in international trade. The banana's modern role as a global commodity cannot be overstated. Today, bananas are one of the most traded agricultural products in the world, with billions of bananas consumed every year. They have become a staple in supermarkets from New York to Tokyo, and their journey from tropical Africa to the grocery aisle has made them a symbol of both globalization and the interconnectedness of the world's economies. The banana's journey from local crop to international commodity is a story of agricultural advancement, trade, and the ways in which food has evolved from something culturally significant to a product of global capitalism. But despite their ubiquity, bananas still carry with them the echoes of the past. The banana trade is an industry shaped by complex networks of labor, capital, and history. Bananas are grown by farmers in countries like Ecuador, Costa Rica, and of course parts of Africa, where they are often cultivated in conditions that echo the colonial history of plantation labor. While some African banana-growing regions have benefited from the growth of the global market, the banana industry as a whole is often still marked by inequality. The workers who pick bananas are frequently paid low wages, face dangerous working conditions, and deal with the unpredictable nature of global demand. Historians and sociologists continue to study how the banana trade reflects broader issues of economic disparity and exploitation. Some argue that the global banana trade highlights the ways in which Africa's agricultural sector continues to be caught in the web of international trade dynamics that favor large multinational companies over small-scale farmers and laborers. In light of these complexities, some African countries are pushing back, working toward fairer trade agreements, better wages for workers, and more sustainable agricultural practices. Movements toward fair trade bananas and ethical sourcing are becoming more prevalent, and they offer a glimpse into a future where bananas might once again become a symbol of local empowerment rather than global exploitation. By shifting toward more sustainable and equitable agricultural practices, the banana industry could reclaim its legacy as a force for good, one that not only supports Africa's agricultural future, but also respects the deep cultural significance bananas once held. But even as the banana continues to play a role in global commerce, it remains deeply embedded in African life. For millions of people, bananas are still a reliable food source, grown and enjoyed daily. In rural villages, bananas are harvested in small family plots, and the fruit continues to provide both nourishment and income. Bananas are consumed in every possible form, from cooked green bananas served alongside stews, to ripened sweet bananas eaten as snacks, to plantains that can be fried, boiled, or mashed. The variety of ways bananas are prepared and enjoyed make them an integral part of the everyday diet, and their presence in African kitchens ensures they will remain part of the continent's food culture for the foreseeable future. In fact, in many African communities, bananas continue to serve as a foundation for social gatherings. Think back to the great feasts of ancient Mali or the sacred offerings in Egypt, where bananas were part of rituals that connected people to the divine. Today, while the sacred ceremonies may have evolved or faded, bananas still play a role in bringing people together. From small family gatherings to large communal festivals, bananas are often shared among friends and loved ones as part of the celebration of life's milestones, birthdays, weddings, and even funerals. The banana remains, in many ways, a symbol of the shared experience of living and the strength of community. As the global demand for bananas continues to grow, we also see new agricultural practices that focus on sustainability and ecological balance. In recent years, initiatives to promote organic banana farming and reduce the environmental impact of banana production have gained momentum. By focusing on more sustainable farming methods such as reduced pesticide use, better soil management, and fair labor practices, farmers are helping to ensure that the banana's role in Africa's future is more than just a commercial enterprise. It's an integral part of a growing movement toward responsible agriculture. The banana story, then, is one of transformation, from sacred fruit to economic powerhouse, from local crop to global commodity. But it's also a story of resilience. The banana, with its ability to thrive in diverse climates, has become a symbol of Africa's ability to adapt, survive, and evolve in the face of changing global forces. Whether in the rural fields of East Africa, the vast plantations of Central Africa, or the bustling markets of West Africa, the banana is a constant presence, linking past to present and culture to commerce. And as the banana continues to be enjoyed by millions of people every day, it serves as a reminder of Africa's long and ongoing relationship with the land and the resilience of its people. Historians will continue to debate the banana's full impact on Africa, from its origins as a luxury symbol in royal courts to its rise as a key player in global trade. Yet no matter how the banana is seen or consumed, its cultural significance remains clear. It's more than just food. It's a symbol of Africa's strength, endurance, and its ever-evolving identity. In the end, the banana's story is one of survival, adaptation, and a reminder of the profound ways in which a simple fruit can shape history, culture, and economy for generations to come. As we approach the final stages of our exploration into the fascinating history of bananas in Africa, it's important to take a step back and reflect on the broader implications of this humble fruit. While we've already discussed its agricultural importance, symbolic value, and economic impact, there's one more element of the banana story that we cannot overlook: its role in shaping Africa's modern identity on the global stage. As the world continues to grapple with the forces of globalization, the banana's place in African culture remains a testament to the continent's ability to redefine its agricultural past and chart its own course in a rapidly changing world. Let's start by looking at the ways the banana has shaped the modern African landscape. The banana, a fruit once deeply entwined with spiritual rituals and royal feasts, has evolved to become an essential part of both the diet and the economy in many African countries. Its role as a symbol of sustenance and wealth, though somewhat diluted by commercialization, remains intact in the hearts and minds of millions of Africans. In rural villages, bananas are still grown and consumed on a smaller, local scale, often taking center stage in everyday meals and social occasions. For many, the banana represents a connection to the land, a tangible link between generations of farmers and their deep roots in the earth. Now, let's take a moment to consider the modern globalized banana industry. While it may seem distant from the sacred rituals of ancient Egypt or the royal banquets of Mali, the banana industry still reflects the broader economic forces shaping contemporary Africa. As we've discussed earlier, Africa is a major player in the global banana trade, with countries like Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania leading the way in production and export. Bananas are grown for international markets, where they are sold alongside other fruits, from apples to oranges, in supermarkets across Europe and beyond. The global reach of the banana industry is a direct result of Africa's ability to adapt its agricultural practices to meet the demands of the modern market. However, this success story is not without its challenges. As the banana trade continues to expand, African countries must contend with the realities of global capitalism. The banana industry, particularly in large-scale commercial plantations, is often marked by inequality, with workers facing poor conditions, low wages, and the pressures of meeting international standards. The legacy of colonialism, with its exploitative labor practices, still lingers in the banana plantations of today. Historians still debate whether the modern banana trade has truly benefited local communities or whether it has merely reinforced global inequalities. This tension between economic opportunity and exploitation is something that African countries must grapple with as they navigate their relationship with the global market. While bananas continue to bring in much-needed revenue, it's clear that the full potential of the banana industry cannot be realized without addressing issues like fair wages, better working conditions, and sustainable farming practices. The banana trade could become a model for a more equitable and sustainable future if African countries take the lead in advocating for fair trade and responsible agricultural practices. The issue of sustainability is particularly pressing in light of the challenges posed by climate change. As the world's population grows and the demand for bananas continues to rise, the pressure on banana farmers to produce more and more bananas grows. This has led to concerns about deforestation, pesticide use, and soil depletion in some banana-growing regions. However, there is hope that new agricultural technologies and sustainable farming practices can help address these issues. In some regions of Africa, farmers are already adopting more sustainable methods, such as organic farming and crop diversification, in an effort to reduce the environmental impact of banana production. By embracing sustainable farming practices, Africa has the opportunity to not only grow bananas for global markets, but to do so in a way that protects the land and ensures long-term agricultural viability. In the midst of these challenges, the banana remains an enduring symbol of Africa's agricultural potential. Whether in the fields of rural villages or the export markets of global trade, the banana's journey is a story of adaptation, resilience, and transformation. From its beginnings as a sacred offering to the gods, to its rise as a symbol of royal power, to its current status as a global commodity, the banana reflects the broader story of Africa's ongoing evolution. In the face of globalization and modern agricultural challenges, the banana stands as a reminder of Africa's agricultural heritage, its cultural significance, and its capacity to thrive in a changing world. For millions of people, bananas continue to represent a connection to tradition, family, and the land. The fruit remains a symbol of Africa's agricultural strength, even as it faces the pressures of modern capitalism and global trade. And as Africa moves forward in the 21st century, the banana will continue to play an essential role in the continent's economic, cultural, and agricultural future. But as we look to the future, it's clear that the banana's journey is far from over. Whether through sustainable farming practices, fair trade initiatives, or innovations in agriculture, Africa has the opportunity to reshape the banana industry in a way that benefits not only the global market, but also the local communities that grow it. The banana is not just a fruit. It is a symbol of Africa's enduring connection to the land, its resilience in the face of external forces, and its ongoing pursuit of economic empowerment and cultural identity. In the next section, we'll wrap up our exploration by looking at how the banana's impact is still felt in African society today, and how the lessons learned from its past can help shape a more sustainable and equitable future for generations to come. As we approach the final stretch of our journey through the history of bananas in Africa, let's take a moment to reflect on how this fruit has shaped and continues to shape African society today. The banana, once a rare and sacred symbol of power, wealth, and divine favor, has evolved into something far more practical, but no less important. The way bananas are consumed and cultivated today reflects both Africa's past and its future. In a rapidly changing world, this humble fruit continues to be a steady presence in African kitchens, markets, and agricultural fields. However, the way it's produced and its place within the global economy have created new dynamics that must be navigated carefully if its legacy is to continue with dignity and respect. To begin, the banana still plays a key role in the African diet. For millions of people across the continent, bananas remain a go-to foodstuff. Whether it's the more traditional use of plantains in the West or the more common consumption of dessert bananas in the East, the fruit is deeply woven into daily life. It's easy to overlook how the banana, which once might have been reserved for kings or gods, has become so ingrained in the everyday life of Africans. It's not just a food, it's a reminder of cultural continuity. From street vendors to bustling marketplaces, bananas can be found being sold, eaten, and exchanged every day. It's fascinating to think that despite its commercialized status in global trade, the banana is still a symbol of community. In many places, the sharing of bananas is still a ritual of social connection, where neighbors trade or gift one another the fruit as a symbol of goodwill. As much as bananas are central to the diet, it's also clear that the ways in which they're grown are evolving. The push for more sustainable agricultural practices in Africa, particularly among banana farmers, is a reflection of the increasing recognition that the land needs to be protected if future generations are to continue cultivating these crops. Many farmers are beginning to adopt eco-friendly practices like organic farming, agroforestry, and integrated pest management, which not only help preserve the environment, but also ensure the long-term health of the banana crops. The impact of climate change, droughts, erratic weather patterns, and soil depletion has led many African agricultural communities to rethink how they approach farming. And bananas, with their resilience and ability to adapt to various climates, are increasingly seen as part of the solution to food security in Africa. Through the adoption of sustainable farming methods, the banana can continue to thrive as a cornerstone of African agriculture, without sacrificing the well-being of the land. But of course, the commercialization of banana farming remains a double-edged sword. While bananas are an essential economic commodity for many African nations, the global banana trade continues to be dominated by multinational corporations, often leaving local farmers at a disadvantage. The banana trade remains largely unbalanced, with the profits flowing primarily to large companies, while farmers in Africa, especially smallholders, receive little in return for their hard work. This economic reality has sparked movements across the continent to address the power imbalances and promote fairer trade practices. Fair trade initiatives are becoming more popular, allowing farmers to secure better prices for their bananas and improve their livelihoods. By cutting out intermediaries and working directly with consumers, these programs have the potential to reshape the banana trade in a way that benefits African communities as much as it benefits global consumers. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge the ongoing issues of labor rights within the banana industry. Though the banana trade has brought jobs to many in rural Africa, the working conditions on banana plantations are often harsh. Workers may face long hours, poor wages, and unsafe working conditions. These challenges reflect a broader pattern of exploitation within the global agricultural industry, where the need for cheap labor and large-scale production often comes at the expense of human rights. The banana industry, much like many other sectors, is caught between the drive for efficiency and the need for ethical practices. As African nations continue to assert their sovereignty in the global marketplace, the quest for a fair and equitable banana trade remains an ongoing struggle. In some ways, bananas have come full circle. What began as a luxury fruit, consumed only by the powerful, has evolved into a fruit of the people. Bananas now have the potential to uplift communities, provide sustenance, and contribute to economic development. But for the banana to continue to be a positive force in Africa's future, it's essential to ensure that all people, from farmers to consumers, benefit from its trade. The lessons of the past, the importance of community, sustainability, and fairness must guide the way forward as Africa continues to engage with the global banana market. Looking ahead, the future of bananas in Africa will be shaped by these ongoing debates about equity, sustainability, and economic justice. As African countries move toward more sustainable agricultural practices, they can ensure that bananas remain a vital part of their food culture while also reducing their environmental footprint. Meanwhile, the global demand for bananas shows no signs of slowing down, making it all the more important for African nations to take control of their agricultural destiny. Through fair trade, eco-conscious farming, and stronger labor rights, bananas could once again become a model of what it means to balance economic success with social responsibility. The banana's story, in its many forms, is one of resilience, adaptability, and the enduring connection between people and the land. As we close the final chapter on the banana's journey through Africa, we are reminded that, even in the face of modern complexities, this humble fruit continues to shape the way we live, eat, and interact with each other. Whether we see it as a simple snack or a symbol of something much deeper, the banana's place in African culture will remain unshakable. It is a reminder of Africa's history, its present struggles, and the potential for a future where both people and the planet can thrive together. As we move into the final phases of this journey through the banana's rich history in Africa, it's time to consider the lasting cultural, social, and economic impact that this fruit continues to have in both the local and global contexts. By now, we've seen the banana's evolution from a rare luxury to a widely consumed staple, and from a symbol of spiritual connection to a powerful economic commodity. But what truly stands out in this history is how the banana has remained a constant, something that Africans can trace through millennia, adapting alongside shifting political, cultural, and economic landscapes. The banana's ability to evolve with Africa's history speaks to its resilience, versatility, and enduring importance. Let's pause and reflect on how the banana, despite the global forces that have shaped its trajectory, remains deeply embedded in African cultural life. While the significance of bananas as offerings to gods or symbols of royal wealth may have diminished over time, they remain a vibrant part of communal life, connecting generations in a shared ritual of farming, cooking, and eating. In many rural African villages, it's still common for families to plant and harvest bananas together. The banana is an agricultural heirloom passed down from one generation to the next, its cultivation interwoven with family life. Bananas are still harvested by hand, often during special ceremonies or harvest festivals that unite the community in shared work and celebration. In some areas, the planting and harvesting of bananas is not just about food, it's about preserving tradition, maintaining local identities, and keeping the memory of past generations alive. There's also something truly unique about the banana's connection to the landscape itself. The banana, unlike many other crops, thrives in the lush, tropical regions that define much of sub-Saharan Africa. It's a plant that feels almost inextricable from the land on which it grows. The green leaves of the banana plant, the heavy bunches of fruit, and the smell of ripening bananas evoke a sense of place, an image of Africa's vibrant agricultural heart. For many Africans, the banana is not just a crop, it's an emblem of their relationship with the land. It provides food, livelihoods, and a direct connection to the earth, a connection that remains as important today as it was in centuries past. As we take stock of the banana's place in contemporary Africa, it's worth noting how modern agricultural techniques are being applied to banana cultivation. As technology advances, farmers in some regions of Africa are adopting new methods of irrigation, pest control, and crop management that are designed to improve banana yields and ensure sustainability. In countries like Uganda and Kenya, banana farmers are working closely with agricultural organizations to incorporate organic farming techniques, integrate banana production with other crops, and build better storage systems to prevent waste. These innovations are helping to create more resilient farming systems and increase the availability of bananas while protecting the environment. But even as technology changes the way bananas are grown, the deep connection between the people and the land remains unchanged. However, as we've seen throughout this exploration, the banana's commercial journey is far more complicated. While it continues to be a major export product for Africa, with millions of bananas shipped to international markets, this global trade comes with challenges. The multinational companies that dominate the banana industry often control the price, leaving small-scale African farmers with limited profit margins. Labor conditions on large banana plantations are still poor, and there's growing concern about the impact of pesticide use and monoculture farming on the environment. The banana trade, despite its economic benefits, is marked by deep inequalities, and African farmers are often left struggling to navigate a market that is beyond their control. In response to these challenges, several African nations are pushing for fair trade certification and working with organizations that aim to improve the livelihoods of banana growers. These initiatives focus on giving farmers better access to international markets, ensuring they receive fair wages, and promoting sustainable agricultural practices. In some parts of the continent, banana cooperatives are emerging, where small-scale farmers can pool their resources to collectively market their bananas, negotiate better prices, and have more control over the distribution of their product. These cooperatives not only help farmers achieve better economic outcomes, but also foster a sense of community and mutual support that echoes the communal traditions of banana cultivation. In this way, the banana industry in Africa is in the process of a transformation, shifting from one dominated by large corporate interests to one where smallholder farmers are more involved in the decision-making process. This transition could signal a future where the banana trade becomes a more equitable system, one that benefits both producers and consumers, with less emphasis on exploitation and more on mutual respect for the land and the people who cultivate it. Moreover, the banana's continued presence in the global market offers an important opportunity for African countries to leverage their agricultural heritage in new ways. As the global population continues to grow, food security will become an increasingly urgent issue. Bananas, with their adaptability and ability to thrive in diverse climates, are an ideal crop for Africa to invest in as a means of both feeding its own population and participating in global food systems. Through innovation, fair trade practices, and sustainable farming, Africa can reclaim the banana's legacy as a force for good, one that supports local communities, provides nourishment, and contributes to global food security. In the final analysis, the story of the banana in Africa is a story of resilience. It's a story of a fruit that has weathered centuries of change, adapting to new realities while remaining firmly rooted in the cultural traditions of African societies. From its origins as a sacred fruit to its current role as a global commodity, the banana's journey reflects the broader history of Africa itself, one marked by struggles, adaptations, and triumphs. And as we look to the future, we can take comfort in knowing that the banana will continue to play an essential role in Africa's agricultural, cultural, and economic landscapes, just as it has for thousands of years. As we approach the final leg of our journey through the history of bananas in Africa, we come to a place where the past, present, and future of this fruit converge. The banana story has evolved in fascinating ways, from a sacred symbol of divine favor to an everyday staple, and from a luxury item for kings to a cornerstone of modern trade. But what does the future hold for this fruit, and how will it continue to shape the African landscape in the coming decades? The future of bananas in Africa lies in the hands of those who cultivate them. As global challenges like climate change and food insecurity grow, the banana, with its resilience and adaptability, could play an even more critical role in Africa's agricultural future. Bananas have already proven their worth as a crop that can thrive in various climates, providing food security to millions of people. But as the planet warms and weather patterns become more unpredictable, the banana's hardiness may make it an increasingly important crop for feeding a growing global population. In many parts of Africa, the banana is already viewed as a crop that can withstand the challenges of climate change. In regions that experience erratic rainfall or drought, the banana's ability to survive in both wet and dry conditions makes it a valuable resource. In fact, some farmers are now turning to bananas as a way to diversify their crops, ensuring that they aren't entirely dependent on crops that might fail in unpredictable conditions. The banana's ability to produce fruit year-round, unlike seasonal crops like maize, offers a sense of security for farmers who are facing the changing dynamics of global agriculture. However, while the banana's future seems promising, there are still significant challenges that need to be addressed. The global banana industry continues to be driven by large multinational corporations that control much of the trade and set the price. While African nations have made strides in improving local banana production and creating fair trade networks, the global banana market remains heavily skewed toward the interests of these corporations. The challenge for African farmers will be to carve out more equitable spaces within this system, ensuring that the benefits of banana production are more fairly distributed across the supply chain. In order to build a sustainable future for bananas, African nations will need to continue promoting fair trade practices and ensure that small-scale farmers have access to the tools, knowledge, and resources necessary to succeed. One of the ways this can be achieved is through strengthening cooperatives and local networks that empower farmers to advocate for better wages and more sustainable farming methods. The push for organic farming and environmentally friendly practices is gaining momentum across the continent, and bananas, with their potential to thrive in organic conditions, could be a major part of that shift. In addition to fair trade and sustainability, another aspect of the banana's future lies in how it will be integrated into the broader food security agenda. As the global population grows and the need for nutritious food increases, the banana, already a key part of African diets, could serve as a critical tool in combating malnutrition. Bananas are rich in essential nutrients like potassium, fiber, and vitamin C, making them an excellent food for both adults and children. Their versatility means they can be prepared in numerous ways to fit into a variety of dishes, further contributing to their potential as a tool for improving public health across Africa. At the same time, it's important to recognize that the banana's cultural significance won't fade into obscurity, even as its role in the global economy grows. Across the continent, bananas remain a symbol of life, community, and tradition. From the rural villages where they are still grown for personal use, to the grand festivals and feasts where they are served as part of ceremonial offerings, bananas will continue to be part of the shared experiences of African families. In the face of commercialization and global trade, this cultural connection to the banana will remain an important part of African identity, helping to ensure that the fruit retains its place in the hearts and minds of those who call Africa home. The banana's future is, in many ways, a story of reinvention. It is no longer just the food of kings or the fruit of the gods. It has become a symbol of Africa's ability to adapt and thrive in the face of both global pressures and local challenges. In the coming years, African farmers will have the opportunity to redefine their relationship with the banana, taking back control over the production, trade, and distribution of this important crop. As the continent continues to grow and develop, the banana will remain a steady presence in both the agricultural and cultural landscapes. In many ways, the banana is the perfect symbol for Africa's resilience and capacity for reinvention. From its origins as an exotic fruit to its transformation into a global commodity, the banana has adapted to the ever-changing forces of history. And as Africa moves forward into a new era of economic development, agricultural innovation, and cultural renewal, the banana will remain a constant, a symbol of Africa's strength, resourcefulness, and connection to the earth. Whether as a means of ensuring food security, a tool for economic empowerment, or a reminder of Africa's rich cultural heritage, the banana will continue to shape the future of the continent. As we close this chapter, we can look forward to the future of bananas in Africa with a sense of optimism. While challenges remain, there is no doubt that this remarkable fruit, with its deep cultural roots and agricultural potential, will continue to thrive. Africa's relationship with bananas is far from over, and as the world looks to the future, the banana will remain a key part of Africa's story, a symbol of hope, growth, and the enduring connection between people and the land. And now, here we are, at the final chapter of this incredible journey through the history of bananas in Africa. We've traced their roots from ancient religious rituals, where they were seen as divine gifts, to their rise as a critical crop in modern Africa's agricultural economy. The banana, once a luxury for kings, has become a staple for millions and a powerful symbol of cultural endurance. From the sacred spaces of early African kingdoms to the bustling global trade markets, this fruit has been transformed into a commodity that connects continents and people. And yet, at its heart, it remains just as vital to daily life as it ever was. Looking at the present moment, it's clear that the banana continues to play a pivotal role in African life. For millions across the continent, it's not just food, it's a shared experience, a marker of community, and a living testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the people who have cultivated it for centuries. Bananas, in their many forms, continue to be at the center of African food culture, deeply embedded in local customs, kitchens, and economies. From the simple banana trees growing in backyards to the large-scale plantations exporting bananas around the world, the fruit remains a constant companion in both everyday meals and grand social events. But this legacy is not static, it's evolving. In today's world where the forces of climate change, globalization, and economic development are reshaping the landscape of agriculture, the banana is adapting once again. As African farmers face the dual challenges of sustaining their crops while improving their livelihoods, the banana provides a unique opportunity for growth. The fruit's ability to withstand diverse climates, coupled with its nutritional benefits, makes it a promising crop in the face of a changing environment. By embracing sustainable farming techniques, fair trade practices, and greater investment in local agriculture, the future of bananas in Africa can be one of empowerment and equity. Yet this future will require both reflection and action. The banana industry, for all its promise, must confront the legacies of colonialism and exploitation that have long defined global agricultural trade. As multinational companies continue to control the flow of bananas from Africa to the rest of the world, it's crucial that African nations assert their influence over how bananas are produced and traded. The question of fairness, whether in the form of better wages for workers, more equitable distribution of profits, or the promotion of sustainable farming, remains an important one for the future of the banana industry. Through grassroots movements, cooperatives, and international partnerships, the industry can be reshaped into one that supports the local farmers, workers, and communities that are the backbone of the banana trade. Ultimately, the banana's legacy is as much about people as it is about fruit. It's about the farmers who plant, nurture, and harvest it, the families who share it at the dinner table, the communities that celebrate it in festivals, and the cultures that continue to weave it into their daily lives. From ancient rituals to modern trade, the banana has served as a bridge between the past and the present, linking Africa's rich agricultural traditions to its contemporary realities. It is not merely a product of the land, it's a product of Africa itself, a symbol of resilience, adaptation, and cultural continuity in a rapidly changing world. In closing, we can rest assured that the banana will continue to hold a place of great importance in Africa's agricultural, cultural, and economic future. Whether it's shared among friends and family, sold in bustling local markets, or shipped across the globe, the banana will endure. It represents the strength of Africa's agricultural heritage and the potential for a more sustainable and equitable future. As the world continues to change, the banana will remain a reminder of the land that sustains it, the people who cultivate it, and the generations that will continue to pass its legacy on. And as we settle into the quiet rhythms of life, much like a ripe banana hanging gently from a branch, we can feel the gentle embrace of tradition, culture, and community wrapped around this simple fruit. The story of bananas in Africa is not just about agriculture or trade. It's about the enduring connection between people, food, and the land. So as you drift off tonight, maybe with a fresh thought on your mind, know that this journey through time with the banana leaves us with a simple truth. Even the most humble of fruits has the power to shape history.